right. What is up? Doing last minute things here. Welcome to Spoiler Kings. My name is Tank Kramer. I am with Brandman Brandon and Brian the Grizzly. What is up, guys?
What's up?
Not too much. How's it going?
Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good. Long work day. I've been pretty excited about today though, to talk about this movie. So, but
excited is a word.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys really aren't on Twitter too much. That's all that was on my feed.
Yeah, but I'm seeing the positive and the negative, and the negatives. Some of it's just is mind-boggling. The positives, some of it is like no thought in it. It's crazy. So it's like we have just a mix of people. This has really divided a lot of Marvel's base.
Yeah.
As with most of Phase 4, you know.
Yeah, this being the end of Phase 4 and probably the most decisive divide. Like it literally, yeah, it's so torn right now. You know what I mean? So I guess this is the perfect end for Phase 4 because, like you said, most of this phase has been that. I think Kevin Feige came out and said Phase 4 is main theme is pain and grief, or grief and acceptance, or something along those lines. Which I'm like, okay, you can easily say dividing as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I was just saying, he's given a lot of a lot more, as we've discussed in the past. He's given the directors a lot more free reign this time. It kind of, you don't really feel as much typical Feige influence over this particular phase. He's kind of let the directors do their thing and tell their stories the ways that they wanted to. Multiverse of Madness, like I've said in the past, was very, very much a Raimi film. It was probably one of the more recent MCU movies that felt very, very influenced by its director. Hell, like even Love and Thunder, this felt very interpersonal and kind of grounded, but we could go more into that later.
Oh yeah.
It kind of dealt with it kind of dealt with something that was very near and dear to, Ryan Coogler's heart, the hearts of the rest of the cast members, as they banded together to basically, this movie was one big tribute to Chadwick Boseman than it was your typical conventional MCU movie to me.
Yeah.
So like I said, we could go more into that later.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get into a lot of that later. But you brought up a good point. I think a lot of Phase 4 was letting the directors run wild. I mean, literally, Marvel was like, "You do you, like whatever you decide." They literally told Ryan Coogler, "Whatever you want," which is kind of crazy. But it seems like they.
But even Disney, if you start listening to a lot of these interviews. And you're starting to realize Disney basically said, do whatever the hell you want to do. We're going to let you do it. You want to hold it, you want to do it later. You want to not do it, we'll listen to you. So, it is what it is. So that's why I'm going to be more critical of certain people and then not.
Yeah, agreed.
Choice.
Yeah. But so for this part of the show, when it's just us Spoiler Kings, we're going to have some more people coming in a little bit later. But right now, if you're watching live, it's just us. We're going to keep it spoiler free, and we're going to do kind of our normal thing, but we're going to kind of keep it a little quicker than normal. But we're going to talk about one or two good things, one or two bad things, give it our rating, and then get into the real discussion. So if you're watching our replay, make sure you go check out our other video. It's going to be with Zack Attacks and Cult Lords, and then that's going to be a nice little panel of different thoughts and feelings and stuff. So that's going to be pretty fun to do. But just for right now, just gonna be us for a little bit longer. But let's get into some of the likes before we get into the dislikes. So just give me like one or two, nothing too crazy. Why don't we start with you, Brian?
I gotta say, Angela Bassett did a wonderful job acting. She, even if I didn't agree with the decisions that she was making and all the stuff, because I didn't agree with any of the decisions, but she did. She was powerful. She was strong. I love the way she presented herself. I thought Winston Duke, I think M'Baku was a great character. I mean, he worked out. M'Baku worked out. You know, like it made sense. I liked the character. He was strong enough to carry parts of the movie. It's totally against what what I've seen or what I thought they were going to go with, but they changed some things, and I enjoyed what the character in M'Baku, not just the great ape, but as you see in the comics, but more what they're trying to change it to. It's kind of multiple things being molded into one. So I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed seeing Wakanda again. And the different worlds, they create great worlds. I mean, even what we saw for from Namor, I mean, just Talon was amazing. Looked amazing.
Talokan?
Talokan. It was looked unbelievable. So that was great. And that's why I'm going to stop.
Yeah, for now. What about you, Brandon? A couple good things that you liked without getting into spoilers.
I liked how it handled the like the gravity of the situation that Coogler and company kind of found themselves in, with the themes, like loss, grief, coming to grips with that. I thought that was handled pretty well, considering the rock and the hard place that they were found themselves in. I also liked that it had a little more, tying back to what I said at the beginning of this. It felt a lot more grounded and interpersonal. By that, comparing it to the first movie, where the first movie felt very wondrous and stylized, this really felt a lot more a lot more real. And even the way that it was shot, I'm not sure what Coogler shot it on, but comparing the way it was shot compared to the way the first one was shot, just felt a lot more grounded and no nonsense. It had the feel of a drama, a character driven drama, which and the one thing that I want to add to what Brian said, I loved returning to Wakanda. Wakanda very much feels like a living, breathing character all its own. With how you see like from like the metropolitan, like technologically advanced vibe of it to like kind of like the more kind of street markets and African culture and that sort of thing. So I think it's a beautiful marriage in that regard.
Yeah. I don't know, for me, the like both of you guys said, like the acting was super amazing. I gotta say that, like, what was that?
Some of it. I don't think it was as strong.
I say most of it was there. There's some parts where I'm like, okay, but for the most part, like Angela Bassett was like, everyone's talking about Academy Award, and I think even if you don't like it, I heard people saying issues, blah blah blah, and stuff like that, but they're still saying Angela Bassett.
You have problems with Ramonda, but you have no problems with Angela Bassett, how she portrayed. Like,
well, yeah, I mean that's the difference.
Yeah, she's the MVP.
Acting and the person, but that's a whole other. But yeah, she was amazing. She was, I mean, very powerful. But yeah, that was great. The costumes for everybody, for the Wakandans and the Talokans, was chef's kiss. I mean, it really puts you in. You're like, oh, you are in Wakanda, and then when you saw the Talokans, and it was like, oh, exactly where they're from and everything like that, just from their costumes. So when they gave you their backstory, like, that all makes sense now. Like, of course, like they told you the story before they even told it, just by looking at the character, which was awesome. And then for me, Namor. This is
something I didn't get. Namor.
This isn't Namor. This is what was it? Namor. This is Namor. It is different. And I was like, when they told you his backstory and stuff, I was like, awesome.
It was
one of the amazing.
Good. He was good, and
he was
so much.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
He was. He was.
He's my favorite character.
What do they call
the
them?
Talokans look like characters from Avatar. Yeah, I mean,
only
without the hair genitalia.
I think only in the water because only
Out of the water.
In the
Yeah.
water, it look just like you would from
I'm just a normal person.
That's one person from the area. It looked amazing.
Yeah. So there's just a few things. We'll get into more of my dislikes or likes. A few of my dislikes. You guys both said like you love going back to Wakanda. My issue was I wanted more. You didn't give me enough. We were only in Wakanda for 4 scenes. You know, like I was promised a deep dive into Wakanda, and I got like a dip toe in the shallow end. You know, it was like I didn't get the deep dive that I was promised.
Yeah,
but that's what I wanted.
I thought the Disney Plus was going to do that. That's why I thought. I was like, because we have a whole Disney Plus series on it, which is going to be really interesting because they did some stuff that I'm going like, I don't know how.
But I thought they canceled the Disney Plus show and decided to do the movie.
I thought they
in place of it,
still doing both.
Doing both.
I was reading. Yeah, I was reading the other day. They have like some Wakanda-based shows in spin-offs in the pipeline.
Yeah, that's what I want. You know, you're calling it Wakanda Forever. I want more Wakanda because, like you said, it was great. Like seeing them like in the market by the water. Like I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, and M'Baku just standing there, kind of like looking over, making sure no one's starting shit, and just kind of like he's like, cool. You know, like that was awesome. I wanted more of that. And then you look up and you see all the amazing buildings and cool towers and stuff. It was like, it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous, but I wanted more of it. So that was one of the non-spoiler. I wanted to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And real quick, Derpy's one of the dislikes was some of the acting. Yeah, that could go. I know who you're talking about too. I assume. But it does drag a little bit. That I heard from everybody, even people who like it, dislike it. It could be cut. The CGI I thought was pretty good, but there's a few parts. But I think overall the CGI was pretty good.
I thought the CGI was.
I haven't heard too many complaints about the CGI.
I mean, I don't think the underwater world is going to look like Avatar. You know what I mean? I spent billions of dollars on it, so I had no problem with any CGI. Honestly. Yeah.
So that was some of Derpy's dislikes. And then so his likes was Angela Bassett, of course, Oscar. There you go. Yeah. So what about you, Brian? Give me a dislike.
I don't know where I want to start. Honestly, I felt as if Letitia Wright did not want to be there. In her acting, I felt like she really didn't want to be there. And I felt that the story really tried to exclude her from how far they're going to go with this. They're trying to give her out. We've all heard that she had problems with filming this whole thing. Throughout the whole thing, I feel like they give her out. Okay. I didn't really care for that. I didn't care for the story that much. For me, there's some things that not talking about non-spoilers. There's things I just didn't care for with the story part. It just didn't make sense. I didn't like the end fight. I didn't like. I'm not going to tell you who it is. Yeah. I didn't like it. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I felt like the first scene with all that emotion, I really didn't like. I felt like it was very disrespectful. I really didn't enjoy the opening scene. And don't get me wrong, I felt the emotion too, but I just thought that it shouldn't have been done. But that's something I've been saying. I gotta be consistent. That's what I thought was going to happen, and that's not something I liked. I'm really not sure what direction they're going in, and this whole recast T'Challa, not recast T'Challa, they're still going to have a T'Challa problem.
Yeah,
they're still going to have a T'Challa, no matter what's
no matter what.
No matter what, they're still going to have a T'Challa problem. Just in the basis of the story of how they have ancestral plane, they're going to always have a T'Challa problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Eventually, they're going to have to find someone to be T'Challa.
Do something. Yeah.
Even if it's older one or whatever, maybe you age in ancestral plane, but it's going to have to happen. And I think that the further along we go, the more that everyone's going to realize it. It doesn't matter what you do, no matter what scenes you put in, no matter who you try to bring in, you're going to have a T'Challa problem. You just kick the can down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like having Iron Man without Tony Stark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, but
you can have Iron Man.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that. And then Derpy, we'll talk a lot more about your comments in a little bit. So stick around. Well, I saw a few of them. I don't want to get into them yet. But
this is when we have everybody.
Yeah. Yep. And then what you got, Brandon? Something that you didn't quite like?
A lot of the Easter eggs and world building, aside from Namor, seemed very unnecessary to me. It seemed very shoehorned, and it just seemed a lot there just for the sake of, oh, it's a Marvel movie, so you're expecting, Easter eggs and groundwork for future content. So here it is.
I've been hearing that a lot too.
This movie really should have been in its own little corner, and for the most part, it was in its own little corner.
Not enough.
We not enough. That's exactly what I was going to say next. We didn't really need Valentina. We didn't need, like the cute little Scott Lang references or like the Asgard references and stuff like that. It just kind of felt, it felt like that's where I felt Feige's influence. Like, we're building toward future stuff. Coogler, put this in there. Do you mind putting this in here? Do you mind dropping this in there? It didn't feel necessary. And just to piggyback off of what Brian said, there's going to be the issue of T'Challa's absence constantly lingering over this. Them opting not to recast Chadwick Boseman, while to an extent, I did understand that to an extent, mind you, it felt like kind of a knee-jerk reaction, and they didn't think it through. I've said multiple times, I get why they wouldn't recast him, but when you taking into account they didn't seem to hesitate to recast William Hurt while his corpse was still pretty fresh. It's kind of it's kind of presenting. I'm kind of seeing the problems down the line, just like Brian said.
Yeah, but yeah, some of the stuff like the shoehorn issues I heard a lot. I believe somebody on the John Campea show said something similar, like, oh, this movie suffered from an MCU problem. Like they were forcing like MCU, like you got to do this, you got to do that, which, like you said, Feige's known to do that. That's why Edgar Wright left Ant-Man. It's like, so it happens. But yeah. So we'll get more into that. I'm sure.
One more thing in there, just to kind of piggyback on what he just said. I hate the fact that they're going to make the Thunderbolts attack Wakanda. I don't like that. I hate that.
Yeah,
and that without context, I don't think you understand it, but it's going to have to happen. And I hate that this is going to have to happen.
Yeah. That is, yeah. We'll see. I mean, it's still got a little bit while, but everyone's still kind of wondering what's going to happen. But yeah, you never know. Everyone's always so sad, like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. I was like, MCU movies change to the very last second, and every director's said that. So
you can affect the change easily.
Yeah. So that being said, let's finish up and let's give them our ratings. So
no.
What?
I need to hear some of the things that you don't like.
I did. I wanted more Wakanda. I wanted more of that. I wanted so, like you said, the end battle was so for me, a lot of this movie problem was the more you thought about it, the more issues I had with it. And I like to sit and think about movies, good or bad, trivial, stupid, whatever. I was like, oh, that was funny because of this. Like we reviewed Weird Al. I thought about that like the whole night. I was like, oh man, that part, that was so stupid. That was funny. That was that, and it's a silly movie, but I still like, that's why I enjoy watching movies, is to think about it. This one forces you literally forces you to sit and think about things, which is a thing I don't like. I don't like being told how to feel. That's literally like cramming the spoon right down your throat.
Mhm.
I don't like that. And I heard somebody say like, oh, they told you to feel this way without telling you to feel that way. Really? Like, no, they flat out said like, this is the time you're sad. This is the time you're happy. I'm not a big fan of that. So he did that. Ryan Coogler did that quite often. But Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are inseparable. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but that is a thing. And
yeah, he's basically, it's very much a Tim Burton.
So, I don't know if that's a spoiler.
Exactly. Tim Burton, Johnny Depp. That's what it is.
Yeah. I guess spoiler. That's a one spoiler. But if I take that for whatever it is, but yeah, the final battle, on the surface level, you're like, oh yeah, cool. And then you think about it, you're like, wait a minute.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, I kind of same with you guys without getting in too many spoilers. We're going to get into that in a little bit. All right. But now we can get to our ratings.
Yes.
So we keep it simple here. We do now means you have to drop what you're doing, go get the next theater seat, go watch it now. Later means wait till it's on Disney Plus or whenever. And then never means skip it. Just don't even bother. That being said, Brian, you've been starting. Why don't you go first?
Cannot.
This is the part I was thinking about for a long time, like all weekend. Like, what am I giving it?
Hard.
Yeah.
So I have definite problems. You're going to hear a lot of my problems with it.
Okay.
With that being said, I don't think the movie was terrible. I just don't like the direction of the movie that it went. I think they made some major missteps. For what it is, I think it's one of those movies that you need to go see and form your own opinion. And for that reason, I'm giving it a now. I want you to go now, watch it. We only got 3 weeks before Avatar, and that's what's going to take off everything. I want you to go now, make your own opinion. Decide what you think you like or dislike. I think all opinions should be welcome. Because there's going to be people that love this movie. There's going to be people that don't like this movie. And it's somewhere in between. But a good movie should make you feel angry or sad or happy or changing of emotions for everybody. And because of that, I'm thinking this is what you need to go do. You need to go see it, make your own opinion, and stick with it. That's fine. And listen to everyone and discuss and be open to people not seeing it the same way.
Yeah, that's amazing. Be respectful, man. I mean, I don't think I haven't heard anybody saying anything bad. You know what I mean? Different, but not bad. You're like, hey, I wish they went that direction, and then people are like calling out, yeah, you're stupid for that. I don't agree with that. I don't like that. But it is what it is. I mean, we got that a lot in our comments. Is so whatever. But be respectful. Like you said, it's a piece of art at the end of the day, and
exactly.
Everyone sees it differently. So you're giving it now. What are you giving it, Brandon?
Yeah, this is tough for me too, because even though I thought it was a very well-made movie, for obvious reasons with the themes, some other stuff going on, I found it to be an overall joyless experience.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me.
My bad.
You're not that guy.
I didn't mean to press that.
I didn't have fun watching this movie. I am completely content never watching it again. It just I didn't enjoy sitting through this movie. Yeah, there were some merits, but I didn't have fun. I went in knowing I was not going to have fun. So I have to give this a later. You could watch it in the theater if you want. You could watch it on Disney Plus. It's not really anything that you have to rush out to see, in my opinion. Yeah, because you're gonna feel something. You're gonna feel some type of way after it, and
that's kind of the reason why I go to theater, because I think you should be around other people hearing it, because either it validates a lot of your feelings, but also it's all encompassing. Like I saw it in Dolby,
Mhm.
It looks better. This is amazing looking movie. So that for those things, I mean, you don't have to agree with the movie for it to say it. I respect it as a movie, and I respect it as a movie. I just don't agree with the direction. So yeah, that's why I went my now. But I totally understand you going later. I really do.
Yeah.
So walking out of the theater, I know this sounds silly, but this is the first thing I was thinking about. I'm like, what am I giving this? Because I don't know. I don't know. You know, some of the performances is definitely put it in now. Some of the feelings kind of can put it in the later section. It's not a never for me. I think eventually everyone should kind of watch it. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it a later, just because I'm more of a comic book fan, and we didn't get. I'm okay with the MCU not copying straight from the comic books. I get it. They've changed a lot already, which is fine. I don't know. See, man, I don't know. You know, I'm a champ. You know why? Because somebody asked me a question when I put a post up on Facebook, and they said, "Is it better than Black Adam?" And I couldn't give them an answer right away. I'm like, I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. And then what changed my mind was Namor. Namor was, he put it into the now section. Seeing him being awesome, being badass, his story like was legit. For me, he alone makes it a now. But if you get sad really easy, if there's things in your life that might have happened where you lost people, this might be a later. Wait till you're at home so you can cry, because you're gonna cry. You know what I mean? There's parents that were said like, I wish I didn't see this movie, at least in the theater, because of the emotions.
I'm not crying. You crying?
I didn't cry. I didn't come close to shit. Yeah, come back up. But
exactly.
Yeah. But so I think, you know, you're now, you're later. I'm like legit in between a now and a later for this. It's but it is gorgeous to see on. You know, I saw it in Dolby Digital in AMC, and it sounded amazing, looked amazing. So, but all right. But that's being said, yeah. And then obviously it did really well. 84% on the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter, and 95% with the audience. So it is not a failure by any means.
It's going to make, I told you, I've been saying this for a year and a half. It's going to make $1 billion. Matter of fact, it's going to make $1 billion before Avatar comes out. It's literally going to make $1 billion before that happens.
Yeah.
All this just talk around it, and all these people not liking it is only going to fuel the fire even more. It's making that $1 billion, and I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Make your money.
Yeah. I see that. But that being said, we pass off the question to you guys, the viewers. Let us know what you thought about it. We had some comments in our trailers. It is what it is. Name calling and stuff like that. But whatever, you know, we have our opinion. You have your opinion. That's what we think. You know, if you don't like what we think now, you're really not gonna like what we say when we bring our panel in a few minutes. When we go full on spoilers. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're watching live, stick around. If you're watching our replay, check out the video with Zack Attacks and the Cult Lords that we are about to record with them. But that's it for this little non-spoiler review. Make sure you hit that sub button and that like button. We will see you guys in the next video.
Thanks, guys.
Later.